A young man stood before Padre Pio for confession with a cool casualness, almost a smirk on his lips that he offered a mitigating excuse in his own mind. "Father, my girlfriend and I got a little close. But we're going to get married anyway. This doesn't count as a big mistake, right?" The expression on Padre Pio's face suddenly turned to steel. His eyes pierced through not just that moment's event, but the deepest recesses of that young man's soul, and he saw. He saw not only today's sexual sin, but also the destruction of future years, acts of adultery, betrayals, an inevitable divorce, and finally, a shattered family picture, the total darkening of the soul. All of it stemmed from this first step, accepted as small and masked in innocence. Padre Pio made a sharp turn toward the youth. His voice was like thunder. "You are joking audaciously, but hell never jokes. Leave this place immediately. I will not accept you until you feel true contrition." The youth of our age perceives the concept of chastity like a museum fossil. Premarital sexual experience? Everyone lives it, living together. It's standard now. Pornography? A harmless escape. A small kiss, an innocent touch. These are unimportant details. But the scene Padre Pio saw was completely different. He read souls. And what he saw was terrifying. Every fall deemed insignificant was a locked door opening to the next, greater mistake, because sin never comes alone. It is like an insidious chain. One link inevitably brings the other with it. The first kiss seems to preserve its innocence, but the second is more passionate. The third disregards boundaries, and one day, you find yourself in a place you never planned, never wanted. Remember the warning St. Augustine gave centuries ago: do not underestimate small faults, even small drops fill the oceans. A young person murmurs, "Just this once." Yet the devil whispers, "Once more." Then, "Just one last time." And finally, he etches into your brain, "Nothing matters anymore." Padre Pio knew this dynamic very well. In the mid-20th century, even before the sexual revolution had fully begun, the seeds of danger were being sown. Cinema was becoming bolder. Magazines were offering more explicit materials, and young people had started to see purity as an old-fashioned burden. But Padre Pio's approach never changed. He always taught the youth the same truth, the sanctity of chastity. That the body is the dedicated temple of the Holy Spirit, that every sexual act outside of marriage is a great sin that brings death to the soul. Another young woman came. Her situation was no different. "Father, my fiancé and I went too far, but we are in love. We are going to get married soon anyway." Padre Pio's answer was decisive: "You do not love each other, you are only using each other. True love knows how to be patient, true love always bases itself on respect. True devotion requires remaining faithful to the plan drawn by God." But Padre, our age is different. No one wants to wait anymore. Padre Pio's answer was decisive enough to leave no room for argument. The law established by God does not change. People may change, cultures may differentiate. But the definition of sin remains the same for eternity. And he was right. Today, in 2025, the sexual revolution has declared its full victory. Young people plunge into sexual experiences at very early ages. A culture of random relationships dominates university campuses. The friends with benefits relationship has become the norm. So, the results? Depression charts are at record levels, suicide rates are climbing. A significant percentage of young women are using antidepressants, marriages are decreasing. Divorces are skyrocketing, the nuclear family structure is dissolving. Padre Pio had foreseen this. Once in the 1960s, he said, "Today's society has stopped praying. That is why it is falling apart." However, not praying is just a symptom. The real disease is purity being pulled out and taken from souls. Because purity is not limited only to sexual matters, purity is the internal state of the soul. A spotless heart possesses the ability to see the Creator. As Jesus Christ said, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God." Matthew 5 verse 8. But a soul that has lost its purity can no longer perceive God. It seeks lust in everything around it. It prioritizes sexuality in every relationship established. It sees only an object in every person. Padre Pio would always offer the same prescription to young people: guard your eyes. Guard your ears, guard your hands. Because sin first leaks in through the eye. What you see occupies your mind, what your mind occupies becomes your desire. And what you desire inevitably spills into action. That is why Padre Pio was uncompromising regarding attention-grabbing and revealing clothing. He strictly forbade women from wearing skirts shorter than a certain measure below the knee, transparent stockings, excessively tight trousers, deep necklines. All were occasions of sin. The modern world finds this reactionary. Clothing choice is personal. No one can tell me what to wear. Yet what Padre Pio saw was very different. That he saw that careless dressing dragged others into sin. Men are beings who act on visual impulses. When a man sees an inappropriately dressed woman, lustful thoughts appear in his mind. And these thoughts are sin. Jesus' warning was clear: everyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Matthew 5 verse 28. So when a woman adopts an attention-grabbing style, she prepares the ground not only for herself but also for another's fall. She indirectly becomes a partner in another's sin. However, today's culture imposes the exact opposite. Be yourself, dress as you wish. Men must learn to control themselves. Yes, men must learn to control themselves, but women must also help, as the Church teaches, pursuant to the principle of bearing one another's burdens. Galatians 6 verse 2. In Padre Pio's time, when a young woman came to confession in a short skirt, Padre Pio did not even lift his head. He only said this: "Go, dress properly, and come back." The woman objected, "But Padre, this is modern fashion." Pio's response was ice cold: "The devil also follows fashion closely. He likes modernization too. Because the fashion industry is not innocent. It is often a tool for spiritual where the pornography sector is designed to systematically consume souls. Social media platforms are a giant mirror fueling narcissism and lust, and young people are right in the center of this trap. Perfected bodies on Instagram, revealing dances on TikTok. Unlimited content on Pornhub, and peer pressure. Are you still a virgin? How funny. Padre Pio once said, "The devil tested a young priest with the obscene dances of naked girls." If the devil pushes a priest dedicated to God this hard, how does he push an ordinary young person? Back then there was no internet. Accessing pornographic content was difficult. Now, every young person carries an unlimited darkness in their pocket. The statistics are shocking. 90% of men and 60% of women consume this content. And the average starting age, 11. Before fully entering puberty, children's minds are poisoned by pornography. Result: sexual addiction, inability to form real bonds, objectification of women, and marital crises. Young people claim rights: my body, my decision that I live as I wish. But the truth hits us in the face with the words of St. Paul, "Your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. You were bought with a very high price, so glorify God in your body." 1 Corinthians 6 verses 19 to 20. You were saved by the supreme blood of Christ. You no longer belong to yourself, you belong to God. And He commands you to use your body for a holy purpose. So how does one stay pure in this stormy world? Padre Pio's answer was clear and simple: prayer, holy mysteries, sacraments. And avoidance, ask for grace every day. Nourish your soul with weekly confession and, if possible, daily communion. These are the channels that increase the soul's resistance. And finally, run away quickly from anything that invites sin. Guard your eyes. Violently avoid being alone behind closed doors with your girlfriend or boyfriend. As Saint Josemaria Escriva said, chastity is not a passive virtue specific to angels. On the contrary, it is the manliest virtue. That is, it requires strength, the will to fight, and constant sacrifice, but its reward is tremendous. A pure soul perceives God clearly. A pure body is a temple worthy of the sacraments. A pure marriage carries God's blessing upon it forever. Padre Pio always told young people, pray, hope, do not worry. But this does not mean laziness. This means trusting in God's grace. God will give you the necessary strength. But you must also work to be worthy of this grace. A young woman named Paula asked Padre Pio for her deepest desire, to start a family and have children. Pio gave her this prescription: weekly confession, daily communion. Paula obeyed. She stayed pure, she waited for God's plan. Then she met Giovanni, they got married. A happy marriage lasting 60 years, 9 children, all of these were the fruit of purity. But the youth of today are impatient. Why should I wait? Everyone does it. I will do it too. And then, destroyed lives, shattered families, lost souls waiting to be saved. Padre Pio once said, sainthood is a terrifyingly difficult profession. Yes, it is not easy to be a saint. It is not easy to stay pure. But it is not impossible either. Saint Maria Goretti gave her life for the sake of purity at the age of 11. When a young man attacked her, she resisted and said, sin is worse than death. She was stabbed and died as a saint. Saint Agatha was tortured by the Romans. She did not give up her chastity. Saint Agnes was martyred at the age of 13. She said, I am dedicated to Christ, I will not go to another. These are not fairy tales. These are real people proving to us that chastity is worth even death. If this warning touched you, share this message with others. Maybe a single share saves a young person from the darkness of addiction, maybe a soul returns to God. Pray for your purity, pray to protect your eyes from filth. And never forget, there is no such concept as a simple, small sin. Every wrong step is either an obstacle on the road to heaven or a step taken toward eternal darkness. Do not neglect to subscribe to our channel and state the questions in your mind in the comments.